knowing how to access that knowledge or how to leverage that knowledge for the betterment of people, that is my real power. And I, as I talk about this topic today, which is mind mapping for effective communication, this mantra becomes even more powerful because we may have a lot of ideas, we may have a lot of concepts in our mind, but unless we uh, are able to express it freely, we just cannot say that we have knowledge or that we are wise or that we have tons of degrees and all of that, or that we have breakthrough ideas. Ultimately, at the end of the day, what matters is how much of it can we express effectively to others for the betterment of our own self, professional and personal life, as well as for others. And I would like to thank XMind for inviting me to this webinar today to speak on this very important topic, that is mind mapping for effective communication. So I have designed this entire session into just four main parts. Why we need mind maps for effective communication, which are the practical scenarios, what are the practical scenarios where we will be using mind mapping for effective communication, for example, presentations, proposals, writing. So whatever it is, all those practical scenarios tested by me and several other people across the world. How we can do that, some case studies, some examples, and what to do, the way forward. So just the entire session today will be divided into these four major topics. And before we start, I would like to wish you all a warm welcome, good evening, good afternoon, or you know, good morning to the people joining here from different time zones. I'm currently joining from India, and the time here is 8:35. So yeah, let's start. So before we start into why of mind mapping and all of that, let me first tell you about a little bit why am I talking about effective communication particularly. When I was approached by XMind to give a webinar, I thought this is the most important topic that one could discuss using mind mapping, because whatever we are doing in life, whether we are a working professional, whether we are a freelancer, whether we are a student, or whoever it is, we need to communicate daily. This is something we just cannot escape. And a lot of us, we read, we watch something, we get motivated, we have a lot of ideas, but then either we find the task of writing very daunting, or we think it's a huge task. But then I want to tell you that all of this can be actually very much simplified using mind mapping. And out of all the people, why me? Why am I talking to you about mind mapping for effective communication and not any other topic today? Well, that's because all my life, I think this is something I have done all my life, whether as a student, as an educator, as a coach now, as an author, writing, presentations, having conversation in groups like this, or having face-to-face in-person conversations with group of people. So all throughout has been always in my both personal and professional life, communication has played a key role. And hence I would just like to talk a little bit about myself here. My education, I'm an engineer. I have done my BTech, bachelor's, master's, and then my PhD in electrical and electronics engineering. I have many certifications, but the significant ones I've mentioned here, which is related to this topic. I'm a Tony Buzan licensed instructor in mind mapping. I am also certified in emotional intelligence, in mind mapping, and a couple of other things. My experience is I have 13 plus years of experience in education field, and I say that is officially, but 22 years unofficially, because I have been teaching and talking to youth for as long as 22 years now. I'm an educator, as I said. I'm a coach right now, a mind mapping coach. I'm also a public speaker. I have given my TEDx speech. I give a lot of keynote sessions on in person as well as online like this. I attend a lot of webinars. I conduct a lot of webinars and seminars. I'm also the author of 2 books. I have written close to 30 plus research articles, and other than research, the other category of articles which talks about mind mapping, productivity, self-awareness, I have written numerous of them and I have lost count of it. I've trained 2000 plus individuals and this individuals were coaches, teachers, students. When I coach students, they specifically want help in research, academics, or interview preparation. I've trained a number of writers who have written their books, or maybe they needed help in writing blogs or others. And books, particularly, there are 8 authors who have specifically used mind mapping to write their books. And when I say about working professionals, they come from various fields. As you can see, they are counselors, doctors, lawyers, IT professionals, trainers, directors of schools and colleges. So the main idea of me showing you all of this is to get a connect that no matter whatever I have been doing in life, whether it was my education, specifically during my PhD or my master's final thesis writing, or the presentations, that the numerous presentation that one has to give during their doctorate degree. So whatever it was, all throughout, if there is one thing that connects all the different pieces of this thread together in my life, it is mind mapping. That has made my life a lot easier. And when I see that, okay, a lot of people ask that you have done a lot of things, this, you do a lot of things, and I say that maybe mind mapping has kept it all together, because somehow the time is saved, somehow the way we organize, maybe a person without using mind mapping would need a particular amount of time to brainstorm, to research and write something. But when you start using mind mapping, things fall in place automatically, and you don't really have to struggle with ideas and words and all of that, which I'm going to talk in the session today. So this is a little bit about my story. And until 2020 actually, I was an educator, mainly teaching engineering graduates and postgraduate students. But mind mapping was more like a side hustle, more out of passion. I used to teach people, specifically students and all. But from 2021 or end of 2020, I went deep into this and I started full-time coaching people in mind mapping. So this was a little bit about my story. But then why mind mapping for effective communication? There's a lot of myth around mind mapping that even today, a lot of people think mind mapping is just a tool which is just used for content retention and recall. Maybe you watch something, you make a mind map out of it, and then you remember it better. That's it. But I say it's more like, just touching the surface and then you say, mind mapping. No, it's way beyond that. And I will be seeing a lot of it as we, progress in the session. Some of the challenges that I've seen, specifically in this case, for example, our topic today is mind mapping for effective communication, and specifically presentation and writing skills. So some of the major challenges that people face, whether it's preparing a presentation, an article, a speech, a report, one is time. A lot needs to be get done in a lesser amount of time. The other one is thinking. Sometimes we just have to stare at the blank screen or the blank paper, and that organizing, which idea will come where, how to organize the entire content, everything, it feels very daunting. And even to start, sometimes it takes hours just to put the ideas in place. So thinking creatively, thinking critically, and putting the ideas together, that also is a big challenge. And lack of system, as I said, there is no proper thinking methodology which tells us, okay, these are the steps to be followed while making a presentation. These are the steps to be followed while making article, while writing an article, or while writing a report or book or anything. So we don't have a proper system as such, specifically in the linear way of thinking. And that's why I think that, yes, when we talk about all these challenges, mind mapping is a perfect example of overcoming all these challenges. So moving forward, I would like to show you, maybe I'll just increase the size of the screen so that you can hear. So if you can see this diagram, I believe that, and based on all the experiences from my own clients, from my own learnings, from my mentors and everything, I have understood that no matter whatever we are doing in life, these are the 4 elements. I call it COCP methodology or COCP framework. These are the 4 elements, COCP, which is clarity, organization, creativity, and productivity. So this 4 together, actually, if you see that whatever it is that we are doing in life, I'm not just talking about effective communication, just think of anything, any project, any small task. When you start, we need clarity. That is, of course, the first thing. Once we have clarity, okay, this is the thing I'm going to write, this is the thing I'm going to speak, or this is the idea, the core idea, and then we have to organize all those information that is scattered in our brain. We have to put it all together, and while we put it all together, while we organize it, we need to ensure that right now we live in a creative economy, so we have to be creative, we have to connect the dots so that whatever it is that we are creating, it is worthwhile, it is worthy. And then finally, while we do all of this, productivity is more like a byproduct. We should not be wasting a lot of time just thinking, organizing, and breaking our heads. So all of this together, if we see the four elements to excel at anything in life, and I call this as the COCP mapping framework: clarity, organization, creativity, and productivity. And all of this can be achieved using mind mapping. So this was about mind mapping. Now let us look at what are the three key elements of any communication. No matter what kind of communication, whether it is verbal communication, written communication, whether it's a speech, an article, a book, any form of communication where you're expressing yourself, where you're expressing your ideas, you need clarity, you need a structure, and you need to engage with your audience. There's no point that when we write something and it's like, I make this joke that it's like writing a love letter with the headline to whomever it may concern. Yeah, so that should not be uh, what an article should look like. It should always have a specific structure, it should have some clarity for whom am I writing, and some sort of engagement. When you write, the people on the other hand, the audience, should feel that it is written for them, for whoever you are writing. So these are the three key elements of any communication. And if you see, all these three key elements are related to COCP, because when you have clarity, yes, you have clarity here also. When you have organization, you have a proper structure, because you know now that, okay, I have to organize my ideas this way. And when you are creative, you will be automatically creating that engagement with your audience. And of course, productivity is, as I said, when you do everything in a proper way, in a lesser amount of time, not wasting too much time, doing what is in the most efficient way, optimizing your resources, automatically your productivity will increase. So yes, as I say, these two are related. That, and as I told you in the beginning, that no matter what we are doing, the COCP will help you in every area of your life. Once you master COCP using mind mapping, you can apply it to communication, you can apply it to just anything. So, and as I say that, let's see, when I say about COCP, and okay, let me decrease this. Okay, so let us see where are the practical scenarios where we can apply what you call it. Just a moment here. What are the practical, or where are the practical scenarios where you can apply all of this, whether it's clarity, structure, engagement, or COCP, and using mind mapping? What are the things you can do in communication? So maybe public speaking, where you address any time, whenever you're addressing more than 5 or 6 people, it's like a public speaking. You are not having a one-to-one conversation, but you're talking to a group of people. Daily communication, it could be a personal communication, one-to-one conversation, or in your professional field. For example, in my case, I'm a coach and I use it every day for all the processes related to my coaching. For example, whether it's a client onboarding, whether it's a review with a client, whether it is telling them about the course structure, everything is done using mind mapping. So it's like daily communication that's happening between me and my clients using mind mapping. Whether you're presenting at conferences, you're writing proposals, you're writing books, articles, presentations, reports, research, as I said, a number of people. In fact, I have written all my research papers during my doctorate using mind mapping framework, and it really helped me save a lot of time. And it was not just about time, but ideas came more easily. The connection between different elements by looking at the big picture happened much easier than it would have happened in linear thinking. So basically, I say we can use it everywhere. So when I talk about mind mapping and COCP, where you can use it, just everywhere. So let me just minimize this and move it to actual cases. Where do we actually use this? And after we know where, but the next question that could be coming to your mind is, how do we do this? Okay, we know it is very important. We know you might be thinking that, okay, we know, Dr. Shubhra, you have been using it for a long time. You said your clients have used it, but okay, just give us some examples, right? So let me show you here a few examples. I'll start with a very simple one, which is very interesting, and I did it even day before yesterday with one of my clients. So we call this 12 minutes live mind mapping, where, and I have done this with 50 plus people, real cases. I'm talking about 50 plus people in groups of 10 in individual one-to-one sessions. The one I'm talking about, the recent one, is a one-to-one session with a director of a school. So what we do is, here we don't take a software or anything. Of course, you can try this. What we do is, for the first 5 minutes, we speed map. When I say speed map, what we do is we just take a pen and a blank piece of paper, and we just put whatever the topic at the center of the paper. And it is preferably a blank paper, unruled, and in a landscape mode to allow your ideas to flow. So we put this topic at the center. We put a 5 minutes timer. You can try this next time you are writing any speech or something. And we put a 5 minutes timer and we say, go for divergent thinking. And when I say divergent thinking, it means we do not label our ideas. We do not say this idea is bad, this idea is good. We do not judge ourselves. We just behave like children without judging. Whatever is the central topic, from there, just like sun rays, we start jotting down our ideas. And sometimes in 5 minutes, 30 ideas come up, 20 ideas come up. So whatever comes up, we just start putting it in a radiant format in the paper. All right. Now, after 5 minutes, and in most of the cases, I have seen people coming up with 30, 35 keywords around the topic. What we do after 5 minutes is we drop our pen and then we just look at the paper for 2 minutes. That's called the review time. Now, once we look at the paper for 2 minutes, sometimes some more ideas come. Sometimes you just feel like, okay, with this, I can add this also. So it's more like review. And then we make a final mind map. When I say mind map, that is more like structured, like based on the initial speed map, which was all cluttered, but then it had all your ideas, divergent thinking ideas. So you pick up from there and you properly write, okay, this is going to be the introduction. This is going to be, what I'm going to speak next, and all of this. And then you put it together. And that also you do with a timer in 5 minutes. And in all cases, we have seen max to max people need 10 minutes. And 12 minutes is the highest. By 3 participants, it was taken 12 minutes. Otherwise, almost every time, here they take 5 minutes, here they take 2 minutes. But then the mind map is done very fast, because they have everything in place. And after that, we also have instances where people were asked to give a speech of 5 minutes based on whatever they have brainstormed. And they have given actually a proper speech as if they have prepared it for 2 or 3 days. But it became so easy. And all this because of mind mapping, because the moment you put your ideas in the paper first in the form of a speed map, it's a little cluttered, but it's all there. And then you transfer it to a proper structured mind map. And then you already have all those keywords and the ideas and the flow. All you need is then just go and speak or write whatever way you want. So that's a simple, we call it 12 minutes live mind mapping. And you can use this. I'll show you a small one about article mapping. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Yeah. So article writing mind mapping framework. This is about, again, how you can write any article, or maybe you can use the similar ones with a little bit of tweaking here and there for speech also, about any article actually. Let's say we start with the research phase first. So what I generally tell people to do is, before writing any article, why don't we do a little bit of research, who our audience are, what are the demographics, what are the basic, knowledge level, whether you need to write that article for a intermediate level or a basic level, whatever your topic is. Next is, objective. What is the objective of the article that you're writing? You want to inspire people, motivate people, you want to educate people, you want to entertain people, or whatever it is. So when we have a particular objective, we know exactly what to add where. So that kind of research is always good, specifically after doing the audience part, after researching on who are your audience, for whom you are writing. And once you do that, you can always, have a core message, that what is going to be the core message of this entire article. It could be a one-liner, but at least if you write down in the mind map, at least the keywords, 3 or 4 keywords around the core message, then your brain starts generating ideas. And then what I also do is, I just go to some social media platforms like Quora or, other Google maybe sometimes. And I try to find out that in this particular topic, suppose my audience are, youngsters, let's say from 18 to 25. So what kind of questions are these people asking? What are their doubts around this topic? So when you have the questions, the keywords, the objective, the core message, so even though it may take around 10 to 15 minutes for all of this, but it's worth. And specifically if you're writing a long article or you're preparing for a big speech to be spoken in front of people, this is always very helpful. So once this research, which is for the self, is done, we actually move to the main article framework, that is introduction. And here again, we divide it into three parts: opening, roadmap, and the claim. So when we say opening, it's like when we write an article, there can be many options. Here are just four options that I have given you. One is you can start with a metaphor or a phrase or a quote or maybe a question or just a simple sentence or something different, so that right in the opening, you capture the attention of your audience. And then you give the roadmap. So what we do is, for example, you're actually using this mind map, suppose. So what you'll do is introduction, and then you think, okay, what kind of opening am I going to use? And you say, okay, I'm going to use a quote. And then you try to think about 2 or 3 quotes around, because you already have done your research, so you know what are the keywords of your core message. So around the core message keywords, you will try to find out some quotes or some challenging questions of the era or something like that. And then you put it around here. And once you do that, you then move to the roadmap. By roadmap, what we mean is, in the first paragraph itself, right in the introduction itself, we tell the audience that, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about. It's more like a hook statement to tell your audience that what is the objective of this entire article and what are they going to learn once they complete reading the article, or what are they going to learn once they complete listening to you. So basically, it's just telling them that, okay, I'm going to take you from here to here after reading this or after listening to this. So that roadmap. And then once we are done with that, I also say that right in the introduction, maybe we can talk about the importance of the topic, or you can even talk about why you have the authority to tell, write about that article or talk in the topic. Maybe you have done your research in that, or if not your own research, you can always share about what others are doing in this field. You can do some research from some books, Google books, or maybe some, timeless speech. So many classic speeches are there. From there, you can clip. So wherever you find a good, credible source, you talk about those things. And maybe we talk about public speaking, for example, and we then say that, okay, Warren Buffett did a course on public speaking from Dale Carnegie. Now, this is just an example. So even Warren Buffett knows the importance of public speaking, and he feels that one of the most important degree that he has, decorated in his cabin is this certificate of public speaking that he got from Dale Carnegie. So now this is just a statement. Suppose I was asked to write an article on public speaking importance, I would have added this as an authority statement where I'm citing 2 big people, Dale Carnegie for communication, and then we know Warren Buffett. So similarly, you can talk about this, and then need. And once you talk about authority, the importance, then we also say that why we as general public, your audience, need to read this. So if you just put some keywords here, once you have this template, and you just with pen or in software, you just put the keywords and it's all there. So it's more like, and those keywords, it will come very easily to you because you are actually doing it in a paper or in a software in a radiant manner. So your brain automatically will flow with ideas. Once we complete this, then we move to the grab part. So grab is more like, where you have introduced the topic, but you still cannot allow your audience to move away or divert from the topic. So you talk about some mindsets or myths, or you argument with that. You talk about some research from statistics, from books, from your personal experience. So you talk about some research, and all the while, whatever you are doing, whether it's the arguments or the research that you are stating, we always have to give the sources. So you can just put the sources, maybe in the name of the book, the link. So you can all put it here. And once you have done that, the next is we cannot miss out on emotion. Whether we are writing a 500-word article or we are writing a big proposal, business proposal, even there we need to address that how this is going to, change lives or something. That emotions are very important. So it could be through stories, maybe your personal or general stories, through examples, through questions, through some challenging questions. So whatever it is, we need not include all of this, but any one of this to touch upon that emotion of the audience so that they connect very well with your topic, connect very well with whatever it is that you are writing or speaking. So you think about some stories from your life, or maybe you think about, okay, what kind of examples I can give, and again you write some keywords here. And then once you are done with all of that, all you're left with is emotions. So after once you're done with emotions, you're only left with the conclusion. So in the conclusion, we always restate that, okay, whatever we have done, say it in the introduction. In the introduction, maybe I have opened with a metaphor, or in the roadmap I have spoken about objective. So in conclusion, in a different way, maybe through a story, maybe through a normal paragraph, you have to tell or restate that, yes, we have covered all of this, and I have brought you this far in the journey. Okay, and then you conclude with a call to action, and that call to action could be it could be anything. It could be a question, it could be a way forward, it could be a thought experiment, it could be just anything, but something for the readers or for the listeners to ponder upon, that what next. Or maybe they can just internalize the message and think about it, how they can implement it in their life. So something about that. So if you see, it's a very simple what do you call it, a mind map framework for article, but it does the work, right? You have this and you don't need anything else actually. So let me go back to the original mind map. Okay, so if you see here, this was the, yeah, so this was about articles. Similarly, we can have for let me just show you. Similarly, if you see, here is the online framework. Okay, let me just increase the size maybe to 400. Okay, so if you see that this is, again, suppose you want to deliver a course online, you have some knowledge, and now that you know that using mind mapping you can leverage that knowledge, you actually, as a coach, you can, or just as a person who wants to share knowledge, even in a basic something about know-how, you can always do this. You can create a framework, and you can deliver. So a number of my clients have actually made courses on big platforms, online platforms, using this online course framework, which is here you see. So this is another example of communication, how mind mapping is helping you. Then personally, from planning to execution of my TEDx talk, I have done using mind mapping. Let me show you the screen here again. Yeah, so if you see, this is a speech from what was the message, and even the basic research about what is the difference between TED, TEDx, and everything. And this is just like step one mind map. Of course, after this, I have 3 or 4 more mind maps till I made the final speech and everything ready. So I have done this using mind mapping, and a similar template have been used by a few of my clients to give their TEDx talk, and right from planning till the delivery stage, till the execution stage. Mind mapping, even they don't have to memorize the entire speech, because when they use mind mapping as a process, it becomes very easy for them to remember the points, not in the form of a speech, but more in the form of branches. Okay, first branch was about this, second branch was about this. So it becomes very easy, and automatically your brain remembers. So let me reduce the size here. Okay, so of course, book mapping, as I said, I myself have written 2 books using, at least for the planning phase, I've used mind map. And then I have also helped 8 authors till now to write their book using mind mapping, speech, articles. So you just can, these are just very few examples. You can just try it in every area of your life, and you will see that the way you start thinking, the way you start organizing, the way clarity comes up in your day-to-day activities, in your day-to-day communication, that will be tremendous. That will be amazing. So you can just try out. So as we come almost to the end of the session, I would say that, what do you want now that we know that why we need mind maps, where we can use it, some practical examples of how we can use it. So what is the way forward? The way forward, I would say, is not to think of it as a tool, just like any other tool, but it's more like a way of thinking, a way of life. So when we say it's a way of life, it's not a way of doing one thing, but a way of doing everything in life. So you can start using it in your daily communication, whether it is for task management. Maybe you're going to a meeting, so why don't you just mind map the agenda? Right, at the center, you can write a topic, and then branch one. Okay, this is the first agenda, second agenda. Or maybe you are planning a holiday in the winter, so why don't you plan your holiday? Okay, Actually, there are many people who do this, from wedding planning to holiday planning to so many things using mind mapping, content planning, decision. For example, you are confused. You can write the topic at the center, and then, one branch would be pros, the other branch would be cons, and then just start noting down in a radial manner. And the moment it is there in the form of a mind map, your brain will start connecting the ideas, and it will be at peace with whatever decision you take. So there are a number of ways that you can start using it daily in your communication. And before I conclude, I would say the tip that I would like to give you is, start very simple. Maybe start with a template. You have this, for example, I have shown you some examples of how to do it in 12 minutes, how to use it for articles. Similar, you can start using with templates that are available. Or maybe even if not, templates are not available, you can just start brainstorming with any topic you take at the center, simple topics, and then you start putting ideas around it. Be specific with whatever is your comfort zone. If you want to start with pen and paper, start with that. If you're someone who says, okay, I don't want to pick up a colored pen or pencil and then start drawing on a paper, I'm more comfortable with software, then yes, you can see how I have presented this entire presentation using mind map. There are no slides, nothing, it's just a mind map. So you can start with that also. Start with just 15 minutes per day initially, and that once you gain momentum, then you start using it in different areas of your life. And most important, I say, is mind mapping should not be a chore. It should not feel like work to you. It should not feel like, okay, this is a burden. Enjoy the process. You got to enjoy the process. You need to understand that, just like any other thing, this is, if it's a new thing, and if in any case, if anyone here have not used mind mapping before, you might find a little difficulty initially. Difficulty not in the sense of you facing the difficulty, but the brain has been accustomed to using a certain way of doing things. So suddenly, whenever there is a change, there might be some slight hiccups, slight glitches, but that's okay. You just still be consistent, at least with 15 minutes per day. Start enjoying the process and use it for anything. For example, you want to talk to someone, you have a meeting in the noon, and you say, okay, these are the 3 things I need to, you have a consultation with your doctor, and you say, okay, these are the 5 questions I need to ask. So just start using it in small things, and then you see that you will actually start enjoying the process. Find a way which suits you best, and I would say try it, and it's going to make your life amazing. And yes, if you have any questions, I'm open to questions now. Thank you so much for listening patiently, and I hope that I could spark some energy, some inspiration in you to use mind mapping, particularly for effective communication. And as you have seen, that writing skills I've spoken about, presentation, it's like the live demo that I'm giving you. So yeah, thank you once again.